Are Pakistanis descendants of the Mughal elites that once ruled India? I have always laughed at such claims, but not anymore. After deep diving into research on the Mughals and a closer look at Pakistan, I am now fully convinced that Pakistanis are indeed the true descendants of the Mughals, Mughalon ke asli waris. Or to put it more appropriately, the Mughals are the rightful ancestors of the Pakistanis. Namaskar. My name is Ajay Sharma. Welcome to a new episode of the Phanindra. Gospel historians keep claiming that the Mughals made India rich. So you would assume that the Mughals, as the supreme rulers of a rich Mughal India, had all the money they needed. Well, they did at most times. But then there is no end to greed. And no better way to acquire riches than theocracy if you are in power.
Theocracy meaning when corrupt rulers use political power to misappropriate or forcibly acquire wealth of people and land they govern.
And the way the Mughals went about it was both shameless and petty. Let us look at some of their accomplishments. It would make the Mughal descendants in Pakistan very proud of their ancestors. Just to be clear, when we are talking about Mughal enterprises, we are not referring to imperial karkhanas owned by the Mughal Empire, but business enterprises privately owned by the Mughals, where the money that was made was not deposited in the imperial treasury, but was directly pocketed by the Mughals. It must be understood here that all the Mughals, including the emperor himself, were granted lucrative jagirs by the state. The tax income from these jagirs was supposed to meet their personal expenses. This was in addition to expenses incurred on things like hunting parties, retinues, fun and frolic, and grandiose construction that was anyway met out of the imperial treasury. For instance, Maryam, mother of Jahangir, was granted the highest Mansabdar rank or 12,000 cavalry in the Mughal court. This entitled her to an income that was almost as large as the Mughal emperor. Yet, she also ran private enterprises. So did all the Mughals, including the emperor himself. Jahangir, Noor Jahan, Dara Shikoh, Aurangzeb, Prince Khurram, Princess Jahanara, all of them privately owned ships that regularly did trade between Surat and the Red Sea ports. Just to be clear, it was then the most lucrative export trade route from India. Indian exports to the Red Sea ports eventually made their way to Europe and Africa. Matters, of course, did not end with the private ownership of ships by the Mughals. Pressure was also put on merchants to procure cargo for ships owned by the Mughals. For instance, when Shah Jahan took over as the emperor, he forced the governor of Surat to pass an order that prohibited merchants from loading cargo on any other ship till both the ships belonging to Shah Jahan were full. All Mughals pushed through with similar privileges for their ships. Aurangzeb had at least 5 ships that regularly plied trade between the Surat and the Red Sea ports. So much for this fictitious narrative about Aurangzeb earning a simple livelihood by stitching caps and selling handmade Qurans. And Mughal theocracy was not just about cornering the lucrative Red Sea port trade. Mughals had the entire bag of tricks that modern day kleptocrats have. In 1633, a private contract was drawn up between Emperor Shah Jahan in his personal capacity and somebody called Munodas Dhunda. According to the contract, Dhunda had the exclusive rights to sell indigo to the British factory in Agra. But how did Dhunda get the money to start the business? Simple. Shah Jahan lent rupees 5 lakhs from the imperial treasury at 0 interest. No surprise. Dhunda was merely the frontman in Shah Jahan's personal monopoly that he had created to exclusively sell indigo to the British factory in Agra. Shah Jahan had other tricks up his sleeve too. For instance, wagons that landed up in Surat, be they from Agra or any other place in India, were compelled by Shah Jahan to fill up cargoes of lime from Bharuch and take them all the way to Agra or Jahanabad. Forced deployment of these wagons and low transport costs helped Shah Jahan to create a monopoly in lime trade. An important ingredient in the grandiose constructions undertaken by the emperor himself and other Mughal elite that were all paid off from the imperial treasury. Meanwhile, Nur Jahan privately collected duties at Sikandrabad on all goods that came from Bhutan and Bengal. Traders with such goods did not have to pay any duties to the Mughal treasury. The corrupt behavior of the Mughals also percolated down. For instance, Wazir Khan, the governor of Lahore during the times of Aurangzeb, charged a commission on everything that was bought and sold in Lahore. Shaista Khan, the governor of Bengal, thought, why should I be left behind? So he pushed for farmans to personally monopolize trade in all important commodities in Bengal. These are only some examples of Mughal theocracy, from Jahangir to Aurangzeb. But what about Akbar the Great? Was it beyond such petty behavior? Hell no. It was he who started it all. It was Akbar's decision to put personal profits first, ahead of the Mughal Empire's interests, that led to Western forces colonizing India and eventually to the collapse of the Mughal Empire. Details in our next episode. I hope you like this episode. Please do like it and share it with your friends. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel Kafirnama to get regular notifications on new episodes and new series that we plan to come up from time to time. Jai Bharat.